Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. This is the level 2 recording for May 10th, and I've just been speaking all about the idea of becoming a pure light eater and transcending the need for physical calories, and how some inhabitants of Earth have already done that, and over many ages, but in this present era also. And I was saying in the little break where I was getting some water, like, yes, if you don't have to go to the grocery store, I mean, on the one hand, you save a lot of money on your grocery bills, but on the other hand, you might have to become nomadic in order to be able to travel from place to place in order to get all the sunlight that you need. So it might mean that we would have to radically restructure our entire society, because right now the tax base and the way this is all set up, it's like you establish residency someplace, you own or rent property, taxes are paid. If all of a sudden everybody started living a nomadic lifestyle, driving around or, moving around to follow the sunlight, then it would be like, well, towns would need to know, like, how do we count our population, and how do we get taxes, and how do we do this, and how do we do that? Like, everything would have to change. So there's many, many things that would change. And of course, the domestication of plants and animals would change. That's another thing to look at in terms of human agriculture. It is not just domestication of animals. There's also been domestication of plants. And that means that it's kind of like making arranged marriages. When you have a marriage that is not made out of love, you have an arranged marriage, like this boy and this girl and their parents just want them to get married to like solidify a business deal or something like that. They don't really love each other. They just have to do it because their parents want them to. That is what happens in the plant realm when humans decide which plants get to breed with which plants. Because they're like, oh, wait, I want big, juicy ears of corn, so I want big, juicy to breed with big, juicy. But maybe those two plants are not in love with each other. And maybe it's been the ultimate rape of the plant kingdom in order to force certain partners to mate with other certain partners in order to give the preferred offspring characteristics that humans prefer. Maybe it has absolutely nothing at all to do with plants expressing themselves and their true nature and their true characteristics. So there's just it's a totally different way of looking at the world. And this is also part of planetary healing and transformation. If I tell you, hey, back in the time of Atlantis, nobody died, death did not exist, it was the aberration. Be like, wait, does that mean plants too, microbes too? Yes, plants and microbes also didn't die. Nobody died. It's not like, oh, humans didn't die, but there's some dead, squirrels over there. Nobody died. There were no dead squirrels. There were no dead microbes. There were no dead anything, no dead trees. It's a totally different way of looking at the world. It is almost incomprehensible to this place, which is so much about death. So the whole idea is, and I'll get into this, lots of human religions, I call them the death cult, not to offend anyone, and I wear a cross because I'm all about Christ consciousness and eternal life. But the way that they got the Christian church set up, it's all about like that saying that you have to die in order to then be resurrected, and that the leader, the head icon of the whole church, he's appreciated because he died. It's like that. To me, that is totally backwards. It's like saying to drive on the road, you must drive off the road, then drive back onto the road. Like, no. Just stay on the road. We're all alive. We're alive right now. In order to achieve eternal life, you don't have to die and then somehow get revivified or resurrected or something like that. And people, if they hear me say this, they'll be like, Aurora's the devil. Watch out, the devil woman. I'm not devil. I'm not the devil woman, I swear. But yeah, no, you don't have to die and then try to get resurrected. You just try to stay alive. That's what continued consciousness and continued life is. That it is, just rearranging down here. It is not having to hit that membrane of death. If I go back to this drawing that I did from the level 1, you don't have to hit that membrane of death. You don't have to go over here to this zone over here that I just made in blue, that technically we are supposed to avoid all of those peripheral possibilities, all of the possibilities where you turn into a Mad Max psychopath trying to just stay alive, all the possibilities where your arms and legs get chopped off, where you become blind or deaf, all the possibilities where you're not your true self for whatever reason, and to only be on this central timeline up here, which is your true self. And what I was speaking about with these other drawings in level 1 is the idea that, okay, so everyone, yes, is versions of this central core source persona. Let's say there's a person, that's like recipe. Each one of us, our ego is a recipe. And wait, let me do a different share. I know I make squinty scrolly faces. Hold on. Right now I want to share this. so that you can see lots of things. Good, because I have lots. I hope you can see all these pictures that I have over here. So I pulled up all these different pictures that basically show, I've drawn, they're from different paintings and things like that, and scratchings and etchboards. Etchings and scratch boards is what I'm trying to say. These are different layers of your being. So in all of these pictures that you're looking at right now, there's a anthropomorphic figure that's got a head and two arms and 2 legs. And there's also all this other stuff here. Look, I'm highlighting in white, all this other stuff over here. And all that other stuff is time. And there are different layers of your body that are moving at different rates. And these different rates, like right now over here, I'm highlighting that is violet. That's the layer of your body that is moving the fastest. Like in this octave, here, the octave of your human body. Wait. So here, let me drink water too. In music, this octave is 8. Wait. Hold on a minute. Octave means 8. Touching technology here. Octave means 8. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's 7. Back to white light. So this is the recipe of you. We start with red. Just arbitrarily assigning red to be C, because that's kind of where we start on the musical scale. And red, if I highlight it, that's this place on your body down here. There we go. Where I made that white mark, that is red. And where I make this white mark down here, can you see it on this guy there? Oh, it didn't do something right. Here, I'm trying to annotate. It's not actually drawing. I don't know why it's doing that. Here, let me try again. This is what I want. Oh, okay, cool. I'm just learning technology here, guys. This over here. Now I'm finally doing things right. Where I'm making that white scribble mark, that is the red chakra, or when I say chakra, I mean energy center. It is the way that you connect to the physical level of being, the physical cellular structure level of being. And that is the level of ourselves that is moving the slowest. It's light that has been slowed down to slower than the speed of light and has coalesced as actual matter. So if we have, here's the sun, and the sun is sending out light waves, sending out photons, and some of those photons get slower and slower and slower, and they actually coalesce into a bunch of matter. And that's what our physical body is, but that's not all that we are. That's just a portion, like the portion I was saying in level 1 that sticks up above the table that everyone can actually see. We have these whole entire other levels of being that are also self moving at a different rate. So we have everything else from C, that is just your physical body, but let's do emotional, intellectual, heart, communication, insight, connection to the divine, and then going into white light. All of those are your other aspects of self. And when I say aspects of self, I don't mean like different ego personality characteristics. I mean layers of being. Like, in your body, you've got your outer epidermis that's pretty tough, and then you've got your inner epidermis, and then you've got fascia, then you've got muscles, then you've got blood vessels. That's what I'm talking about. Your physical body is the part of you that sticks out into the rest of the world that everyone with 5 senses can agree with. But you have all of these other layers of being. This is the emotional layer, mammalian emotions. You have your intellectual layer. These are aspects of self that are moving at different rates through time. And as we move up the ladder, your heart, communication, insight, and connection to the divine, we get faster and faster. And so the whole idea is, what is ascension? So in level 1, I was drawing this little diagram where you've got these little time vortices, and this is the path of least likelihood, and it's infinity, and that's the one that goes through the little wormhole up at the top. I'm trying to draw a little tiny picture, and I'm making squinty faces. That goes through the wormhole at the top. All the rest end in death, and that central timeline, that ascension timeline, is inevitable, that is what we all will become inevitably. That's actually our birthright, and that was who we were always meant to be here in this physical reality, but that our DNA was horribly distorted, making it so that it would happen only under great duress, only after going through all of the other possible notes before we finally got to the right note, and then finally got to exit this level of reality. So yeah, we were never intended to have to experience so much duress. I'm just drinking water here. This journey was supposed to be, go back to my face, was supposed to be a journey of joy, a joyful trajectory through time. And, clearly, because a lot of people also do this blame the victim thing. If you're here for a reason. You must have signed on, you signed on for your tour of duty in the army. Like you must have joined on knowingly. You must have wanted to. No, actually, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't want to be raped or abused or murdered or punched in the face or any of the things that happened to you. Maybe you didn't actually sign up for those things. I think it is hugely presumptive to say anything that's happened is supposed to have happened. Anyone that's here is supposed to be here. Any set of events that's going on is clearly supposed to be going on. No. That's hugely presumptive. Where did these presumptions come from? They're erroneous, because the truth is there's a lot of ugly noise as opposed to real music. Real music is hard. Those are 3 notes that fit together. It actually takes a long time to learn which notes fit together. It takes 0 amount of time to figure out which notes sound horrible together. None of those notes sound good together. Death is easy. This is the whole point. People say that it is inevitable. It's like making something ugly. Making something beautiful is hard. Making something beautiful and alive is very, very hard. Like look at a flower. Oh my goodness, if you ever need to have confirmation of divinity, just look at a flower. It's not only beautiful, it's alive. And it can make more and more and more of itself. Like that's really something that is pretty special. Drinking water. Okay, so this whole idea is we have different levels of our being. And this is a little bit of wrap up. Don't worry if this is repeat to anyone who's already been in the class and who's been watching for a long time. Because my life is crazy and I just moved to a new place. And so I just need to kind of get back to momentum, get back into shape in doing these webinars. So we have different layers of self that are moving at different rates. And the idea is ascension. I joke about this too. Ascension does not necessarily mean Calgon, take me away. Like, I don't like my life, or I don't like this world. It's a fucked up world. Take me away. And Calgon, take me away can be UFO, take me away. Space Jesus, take me away. Sky God, take me away. Can even be death, take me away. That's what some people look at death as an escape mechanism. And that is disturbing to me, because I understand that death, not only is it not an escape mechanism, people are simply recycled back in, and it is part of that arduous, torturous thing that we got going on that we don't really like. It's not the intention of the original composer, conductor, creator for us to have to do that. Why invent musical notation? In musical notation, you can just tell people, hey, you want to play this note? That's the right note for you. You don't have to try every single wrong note on the entire piano before you get to the right note. So we were invented with this capacity to see through time, higher faculties. If I go back to my screen share, and we go to this, I will now show you a picture. Ooh, come on, technology, work. Here, your higher faculties. Wait, do I need to show a different picture? Here, show this one over here. Hope you guys can see this okay. Move my thing. Here we go. Hold on a minute. Making technology work. Higher faculties, and let's do, now I can draw on this and you can see it properly. This is your higher faculties right over here where I'm making that black scribbly line. Just in the same way that in your physical body, you have your heart and lungs and they work together. Your lungs, getting the oxygen, and your heart pumping the blood around your body. These 2 chakras or energy centers work together. This one that is horizontal is your eye of insight. That is where your attention emanates from. That's where your attention tendril sticks out from. So that's a really important part of your anatomy. It's like saying you have a mouth that your tongue sticks out from, and that it does stuff when you need to eat food. It's a really crucial part of anatomy. Then we also have this violet chakra that is oriented at 90-degree angles. That is your crown. And that is really important too, because like if you have this tendril sticking out, it is the violet chakra that tells us where to look. Should you look down that road, maybe you should look down this road. Well, maybe you shouldn't be looking down any of those roads. Maybe what you should be looking down is this road. Where are you paying attention? In this world, we are told to pay attention to our teacher, or pay attention to mommy and daddy, or pay attention to the president of the United States, or pay attention to the Pope, or pay attention to advertising, or pay attention to your 401k retirement plan. external taskmasters tell people, bosses tell people what to pay attention to all the time. But what you're supposed to do is listen only to your inner boss, your inner director that directs what you are supposed to pay attention to. So it was quite a revelation to me to understand in this time and place that many people who work, whatever, regular corporate jobs, just drinking water, are not free to use their mind or pay attention to what they want to while they're at their job. Like, I worked, here, I'll go back to my face. I worked at many just regular quote unquote jobs, before I became a full-time artist. I worked like being a custom framer, where it didn't matter what my mind was doing during my job did not matter. I could be thinking my thoughts. I could be singing music in my mind. I could be thinking about whatever I want to think. What matters is how many paintings I framed. That's it. It was strictly production. It was strictly about output. So it was a huge revelation to me to understand that, wait a minute, for some people, they begin work when they go to their place of work, and their mind and their attention has to always be focused on the work that their boss wants them to do. They're not allowed to think about the movie that they watched last night while they're doing their work. They're not allowed to be thinking about a song they want to write while they're doing their work. They're supposed to be thinking with their mind, focusing with their attention on their work. And to me, that is a huge price to pay, because your attention is what determines your flight through time. Your attention and you're being guided by your crown chakra determines where you are in the time field. So I'll just draw this on this. Hold on a minute. I know sometimes I can't even make my mouth work. Here we go. This is the time field. That's birth down there. These are the membranes of death, right? I hope you can see it. I'm drawing really skinny white lines. And then this is the path of least likelihood, all the way up to infinity. Keep going to infinity, all the way up to infinity, all right? And this big fat white line is what we all want to be aligning ourselves with. And when you, now just choose a different color, when you are thinking what your boss wants you to think, you're heading towards the membrane of death. You're not actually using your mind and your attention to focus on going in this direction up the central core. You're actually focusing on whatever the boss says. Hey, go over there and dig a ditch. I will dig a ditch for you and you will pay me $20. And then I have moved this many inches closer to the membrane of death. I've moved away from eternal life and I've moved towards death. This is true, I want to say human slavery. This is true slavery. This is the true domestication of humanity. And to me, it is profoundly disturbing. It is not what we were placed here for. We were not placed here to have to sacrifice who we really are on a profound level in order to get the money to eat and exist in a house and have electrons flowing in a wire and do all the things that are considered being a civilized person. So just to really reiterate and make that really, really clear, we were not meant to be here as sacrifices. So you can sacrifice someone by like chopping off their head and then they don't have their life anymore, but you can also sacrifice someone by taking their true self of who they would have been. Maybe they would have been a free spirit singing or playing guitar or something like that. And then instead make them be like, you need to go to this place at this time every day, do these particular tasks, don't sing, don't play the guitar, and I'll give you this many hundreds of dollars every week and you're going to save for your retirement. And then when you're retired, then you can sing and play the guitar. That is considered normal. That is considered being a good citizen in this time and place. And to me, that is as aberrant as death, because this is going from that central core timeline towards the membrane of death. So we live in this world right now, or we're coming out of this world that is absolutely calibrated for death, the inevitability of death, the necessity of it, the nobility of it, why it's going to happen to you. And there's tons of fear surrounding it also. And what I'm trying to get everyone to understand is that no, death is not inevitable. Ascension is what is actually inevitable. And what does ascension actually mean? So it's not just Calgon, take me away, or the next form of escapism. What it is a transformation, and a transformation of what you eat, like I was talking about, transforming from eating physical matter into eating the idea of physical matter. You don't eat actual fried chicken when you transform. What you do is you eat the idea, the concept of fried chicken. And this is the whole value of having had a mouth and a physical body so you can go to a party and eat some fried chicken. Let me drink water and tell you about caterpillars and butterflies. I use this example all the time, caterpillar into butterfly. And none of this has to do with monarch programming or any kind of Illuminati nonsense like that. Caterpillars eat lots and lots and lots of stuff before they transform into butterflies, and that's the only little window of opportunity that they have to gather the proteins that they need in order to make their eggs for reproduction. And when they transform into their adult winged form, they go into the chrysalis, they go through the process of transformation, and then they emerge, and they've got new organs, and they're rearranged. They have new ways of seeing and new ways of eating. What they eat is just like nectar, just sugar and essence of flowers, and they don't get protein from that. So the whole point is, although they eat a different type of food. Caterpillars eat mashed up leaves and they get protein from it. Butterflies that have transformed, they don't eat mashed up leaves. This is also why when butterflies visit your garden, you're like, yay, I love butterflies. When caterpillars visit your garden, you're like, no, caterpillars don't eat my stuff, because caterpillars eat your leaves. This is the whole point why we love butterflies. We don't like caterpillars. But so butterflies transform and they still eat, but they eat a much more refined version of food. When we transform, when we ascend, we still eat. You still get to eat. However, it is a more refined version of food that is analogous to the butterfly drinking nectar. And the food that you eat is a food constructed of mental energy. It is a thought structure. And where everything we're eating is a thought structure. I don't have a snack around here, but if I pretend I'm holding an apple. This apple is a thought structure that was done in partnership between a tree and the sun and the stars and water and soil and microorganisms for over a whole year. That is what makes an actual apple that you can hold in your hand and eat. So once you start to begin to understand that, for a butterfly, the transformative process is a physical, biological process done in the chrysalis. For us, the transformational process is done in the womb of material reality, matter from root word mother. We are here in these bodies transforming from being a caterpillar that needs to eat a lot of mashed up leaves and gather a lot of protein to being a butterfly that doesn't need to eat a lot of mashed up anything and just survives on pure essence. And these thought structures, they're the pure essence. That's the essence of food, the essence of nutrition. So just being a light eater does not mean, you get boring, flavorless meals like pablum, time to eat your light pablum, everyone. This is the whole idea that people think being an ascended master, then it means you're just you have no personality, you just float around, you just eat light pablum, it's very boring, there's no individuality. No, it's not like that at all. No, although it is very beautiful to release from the torment. That's the whole idea that everyone's like, Calgon, take me away. You can get release from the torment and the suffering, and it comes through this transformation. And the transformation is not the end of the journey. It just means that you've transformed into a new state. And the whole point is, ascension means you're transforming your state of matter. Like what I'm talking about with all these pictures here. Go back to the pictures. Go back to the pictures, everyone. All of these pictures of anatomy that I, have to share with you. These are all aspects of self. These are you have your caterpillar body that here it is outlined in black, and you have all of these other aspects of self that are still you. There's still levels of you. When you eat light, we are all eating light right now. Even when you're eating a physical hamburger, physical apple, you're eating light. However, not everybody has been aware that they are eating light. So the transformative process is a change in mental structure. And the best analogy I can give is, I don't take psychedelics myself. I have to protect my brain from, overstimulation. And I'm not really a proponent of it. I'm not judgmental or whatever. People can do whatever they want to do. And I'm seeing not everybody is using hallucinogens, in very controlled, artistic ways. There's a lot of people that just use them a lot. So I would really use caution. I would recommend everybody use caution if you're going to be using psychedelics or hallucinogens or, plant teachers or any kind of stuff like that. It's just like creating a Merkaba, creating a energy field around your body that is for the purpose of interdimensional travel, not intergenerational. But it's funny that intergenerational has to do with this, because I wanted to talk about DNA being a portal and an antenna for picking up different broadcasts and different frequencies. So when people take hallucinogens or different, psychedelics, they become very open, very vulnerable. And part of that openness and vulnerability to stimuli and to programming or new software, new ideas, It's not just thoughts that are coming into you from your environment, like you read a book or someone says something or you see something. It's also from ancestors and from otherworldly beings that don't have bodies. That your DNA, not just a vibrating string. Because we think of that, okay, like it's a piano, it's a vibrating string, it emits, only sends out. But your DNA also receives. And there's not an analogy in, the piano world of receiving energy also from the world around you. But this is also what is happening with DNA. So our DNA sends out music and also receives music from other musicians. And those musicians can be non-local. They can be non-local in time and space. They can be from deep antiquity. They could be your ancestors from millions of years ago or from 20 years ago, or you can be connecting with descendants that might have not their potential. They don't even exist yet. There are stars that haven't even been born yet, but you can connect with them too. And these are all, on the continuum of consciousness that we are embedded within. So we have all of these different aspects of self that are flowing through the DNA. And I said your DNA is not just what you look like in your physical protein structures, it's events in time. So then we have to get into this question. I'm just drinking water here. If you're an ancestor and you lived 10,000 years ago or 20,000 or 10 million or whatever, 15 million years ago, how much of an impact on the year 2018 should you be having? Like, should an ancestor from 20 million years ago be speaking through your genetic antenna? How about 10 years ago? How about 50 years ago? How about 100 years ago? Who should be speaking through your genetic antenna? And who should be speaking through like that guy's genetic antenna? How do you determine who gets to speak through your body? This is a pretty big and pretty personal thing. And this is part of the ascension process, is redefining self. That if we say, okay, this is my epidermis and my ego structure is everything that's inside of my epidermis. That's fair. That makes sense. And I define myself as everything that's inside of my epidermis. But what if inside of my epidermis, there's an antenna that not only broadcasts the recipe of me and my flavor and who I am as Aurora, but also receives. And that part of the flavor of Aurora is who I'm receiving. Like, am I receiving some family demon? I talked about that in level 1. Literally in this time and place, people call it a family demon. It can also be called like an addiction. Like sometimes alcoholism goes down, through families. It's a family demon. You're feeding the family demon. Or sometimes it is sexual abuse. Sometimes it is, through some rape or trauma that is passed through generations within a family. And so this understanding that who should be speaking through each person's genetic antenna. And the answer is just like if I'm painting a painting, like I should be painting the painting. I'm responsible for the painting that I make. In this lifetime, each person, you have a body, you have arms and legs, you have senses. You should be responsible for what you are doing in this body, in this lifetime. And I would even say for our ease of learning, it's essential, like there are energetic firewalls, because everybody's been Hitler. Here, I'll save you $5. If someone's like, I'll read your past for you and tell you who you were in a past life, give me $5. Be like, I'll save you guys all $5. Everybody's been everybody. We've all been the worst psychopaths, the worst evil monsters. And also remember, those evil monsters, not that I'm apologetic or a demonic apologist on them at all, they were peripheral versions of self. This is the membrane of death. They were hovering about here somewhere. They were not part of that central core timeline. So the Hitlers and, the psychopathic murderers and serial killers and all of those are all like, I use the example of my cute little dog Cheeky. Like she had to be in some kind of a Mad Max reality and she got twisted and distorted because she had to, be a dog fighter to stay alive and bite people and stuff like that. That those psychopathic versions of humanity that we have been exposed to through the historical record, that those are not the real person, that those are horribly distorted peripheral selves. Who should be acting through you? Should horribly distorted peripheral selves be acting through you? No, I would say no, really no. And each one of us gets to make a choice though. Like your painting is your painting. And if you want to let evil psychopaths paint through you, then you can. But like I said in level 1, the genius of the setup of all of this time structure is everybody gets what they need. Like if you need that, then you can do that on a different timeline. Like if you need to play that music, that sounds horrible. If you want to play that horrible, horrible music, that's fine. I love and accept your need to play that horrible music. Play it somewhere else. Don't play it in this band. This band is the symphony of life where we all try to play beautiful music and stay alive together. That's what this is. So why do I do these videos and everything with everyone? You know, I want to share the concept of the flying rainbow lasagna. This is my tool and my example of the inside becoming the outside. This shape I invented spontaneously. I invented it in order to come into this physical body and vibrate the cells of this body in a way that it could contain my consciousness. And I also make this music and emanate it outward. And I've been making sculpture, like when you're an artist and you have an idea inside of you and then you actually paint it or draw it or sculpt it or whatever. That's what this is. It is an outer manifestation of an inner idea. And, you know, when you're an artist and you start to get good, you'd be like, okay, I had this idea. I want to paint a painting of a flower, and you paint it and the painting looks exactly like what you imagined. We can all become artists of our reality, where we envision a reality and like in a form of potential. And then we actually make it just like an artist paints a painting, and we actually experience those events in reality. So maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to envision that I go to blah, blah, blah place and go hike on a hiking trail there. And then you can actually create that experience, actually have, like I just chose a very humble example because I didn't want it to be the type of thing that just takes a lot of money. Like, you know, you want to fly to Paris or, you know, whatever, something lavish like that. It doesn't have to be something lavish. It's the idea that you say with your mind first, I'm going to paint these potential structures for reality. And then the molecules of reality actually arrange themselves along those lines of thought that you've created. P.S. This is what disease is. This is also what health is. Before a person becomes physically manifested with disease, they arrange their thought structure on lines that say to the molecules of their body, hey, arrange yourselves on these lines of disease, and then you will do like this. Before anything, an infectious disease or an accident, before an accident happens, like, you know, whenever some little kid, they're like riding their bicycle, they're trying to learn how to ride without their training wheels. Before the accident happens, where they fall over, they first think the thought, what happens if I fall over? Oh no, I fell over. The thought happens first. People think, oh, what's going to happen if I get cancer? Then they get cancer. And I'm not saying this is not a blame the victim type of thing, because again, we are in this distorted reality where people can have accidents beamed at them, diseases beamed at them, you know, distortion of reality where someone other than you is trying to take the steering wheel of your life and drive it towards the membrane of death. And you're trying with all of your might, like, I'm going to pull it towards the center because I don't want to die. So it's, for many people, it is that struggle between harmful external influences, trying to control your mind, like control your attention, control how much energy you have, control how you think, control what you think is possible in order to manifest their reality. This is the spiritual battle that we're in right now. And it's a very profound spiritual battle. Like, it's not fun, or I mean, it depends on how you define fun. It's not easy. It's very hard. Sometimes it's filled with a lot of suffering. The whole point is that we get to transcend this battle, that it's not always about fighting. Like I'm telling you all the time, like, it is boring to just do the laundry, or it's boring to just clean up the studio. Oh my God, like I could spend weeks just cleaning and vacuuming and perfectly organizing my painting supplies, getting everything on the shelves and whatever like that. That is boring. That is not the actual creating of artwork. I do all of the organizing of the studio just so that it can facilitate the actual making of the artwork, the actual making of the music. So this is the whole point in our life experience, that it's not just supposed to be about doing the dirty laundry, like do your inner transformation, you know, not just about fixing and healing and getting a bucket and a mop and mopping up all the stuff that's not supposed to be there in your life. It is really supposed to be about that fun, joyful, creative moment when, oh my God, the studio is clean and organized. The dishes are all done. Everybody's been fed and walked. Now I can finally get down to that painting. That's what it's supposed to be like, where we can finally start to create the reality we want to create. And it is a collective process. It's not just something that one person does on their own, because people could be like, Aurora, like, why don't you have a big mansion and a golden toilet seat and blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to tell you, it's because we all need to work together in this in order, like we want to have a symphony or an orchestra. It's not just one drummer. It's not just one flautist or whatever. It's many people working together. In economy, it's not just one person like making stuff in their garage or in their workshop or whatever. It's one person making stuff, connecting effectively to many other people who want their stuff and who get their money from other people and who then get their money from other people, all this and all this. This is what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to be an ecosystem. And so these are their answers to why don't we all just eat light right away? The answer is because we need giant refrigerator-sized crystals and a nomadic lifestyle to be able to, get the light that we all need. And the other one is, how come, like, if you just think, this is the biggest thing. Oh, this makes me so mad. Those books that are like Think and Grow Rich and The Secret. It's just like, oh, all you have to do is imagine yourself with tons of cash flowing to you, or like, but on a Caribbean cruise, and then you'll have lots of money. Like, it's quite disingenuous. The truth is, in this time and place, there's dark magic, which is where people who don't do the inner work are given tons of physical, money and all of the support and encouragement that is supposed to actually go to people that are doing all of the inner self-cultivation, that are using their mind and their attention in a way that is very focused in order to manifest those events. So it's a distorted time field. It's not a perfect time field. Wait, let me drink. I think it's the funniest thing in the world if someone is like, oh yeah, I grew rich because I just used my imagination and read that book, The Secret. I'm like, ha, ha, ha. No, you grew rich probably because you already were working, for those demonic overlords who actually reward people that align themselves with them. So, there's a lot of people that work for corporate overlords, work for the government, work for horribly corrupt pop music. Like, it's not easy to sell. It's not difficult. Rather, it is not difficult to find opportunities to sell out. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, mostly up until this point, if you look at people who are successful, it's like, that guy's got money, that guy sold out. They did something to compromise their integrity. However, we're moving out of that level of reality, and now we're moving into the level of reality where if you actually have control over your attention and over which timeline you're experiencing, and you can actually flying rainbow lasagna or rearrange the events of your life as they are knitted together through your DNA. Yeah, each one of us should be able to be wonderfully healthy and abundant. And the abundance should come in such a way that it does not take away from anybody else. This is another one of these presumptions, just like the presumption of the necessity of death, that the presumption of wealth, one person in order to be wealthy must perforce create poverty in someone else, like this imbalance. Like, you want to have a lot, so this guy over here has to have a little. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, there's many different ways. Oh, sorry, that's my boss down here. I didn't see she was here. Come here, boss. Come here. Oh, come on up. Oh. You need to have a boss break, everyone. Thank you. Oh, cheeky. Good bossing. Very good bossing. I told her that she's famous on the internet, and also people. Oh, I love you, baby. People click on the video when they see there's a dog. They're like, I want to watch the video with the dog. Thank you. We'll do about 10 more minutes, and then I gotta walk the boss. Thanks, guys. Thank you for understanding. I have a meeting with my boss. I need a small meeting with my boss. Cheeky, I was telling them about alternate realities where you're like Mad Max and you're like biting people, trying to stay alive. No, I can't believe that. No, she's too nice. I know. On a far distant timeline where it's like Escape from LA and Cheeky has to be like a very vicious fighter. Okay, boss, we have to work. Thank you, guys. Thank you for understanding. Oh, thank you for understanding. I know. Can I talk? Can I get going? Okay, I need to just talk a little bit. I know, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so you know something? A lot of manifestation has to do with belief. And we can use Cheeky as a really good example, because at a certain point in her life, she was, like in a dog shelter in LA. She had, whatever, and ended up there through misadventure or something like that. And so she was very afraid. They told me that she was, cowering under her blanket, and, she's a little tiny dog, and then all the dogs are barking there, and she's probably hearing what the other dogs are saying, and they're all saying like, we're in a bad place and bad things happen here. Not all of us go, successfully find a home or whatever. And Cheeky had to believe. She had to align herself and her mind with the possibility, or even create that possibility with her own imagination. Here, we'll tilt down so you can see her a little bit better. Had to imagine that a possibility existed that someone would come along and love her. And that might have been a stretch if she came from an abusive background, if she never could imagine that someone could be that way or that could happen for her. She had to somehow imagine that. And what happened was an adoption agency took her out of the shelter system and brought her into foster care. And, then I was able to connect with the foster family. That is the whole point, is that if any one of us is in a very limited or seeming, like bad circumstance, like there's nowhere left to go. And it seems like, there's just the dead end of a road. It takes a lot of inner strength to envision that something better can happen. And the book of Revelation and this idea of the inevitability or nobility of death, and what many people think of, like, no offense, I've got 3 friends that were in their 30s and 40s that died of cancer. And, they were all lovely, good people. I'm not saying they deserve to die in any way, but they thought of cancer as like their exit out of this level of reality. And they couldn't imagine, something better coming along, something better than death. Thank you for the dog kisses, boss. And I'm trying to get everyone to understand and imagine that there's a way, way better opportunity than mere death. That this is what ascension is, this is what this transformation is. But that, we're under these levels of duress. It's incredibly difficult to be here, just like Cheeky being scared in a shelter. How can you even imagine a better world where you get hugged and kissed and all the good stuff that Cheeky gets here? How can you even imagine that, if you're stuck in such a horrible place? And this world that we're in right now, it doesn't have to be a horrible place, but I see so much pain, suffering, degradation, economic iniquities, disease. I tell you all the time, babies born with brain cancer, things that are very unfair. It can be difficult to even imagine that there can be something better. We have to use our muscles of imagination as much as possible to align ourselves with these better possibilities that are about transformation and transcendence. And that's what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. It is a transcendence, a reprogramming of reality, not merely accepting the suffering and the pain and the death as being a necessity. Oh, and let me say this also. It is not didactic and it is not necessary. Many, many aspects of this suffering will say, I need to be in this world because I'm teaching you something. Like disease is teaching you, or addiction is teaching you, or psychopaths are teaching you. No, really. I learn through joy. I don't really learn through someone punching me in the face. I don't really learn through disease. I learn through joy. And I think that's what we all have to firmly embrace. Know that these are not necessary or didactic organisms or pathogens. It's not like, oh, I'm getting so strong because I'm facing these pathogens. Imagine how strong, imagine if you're trying to play the piano and you have cinder blocks tied to your hands and you can't actually move your fingers. That does not help you to be a better musician. And what has happened with humanity and the level of consciousness that we are experiencing right now, that really is akin to having cinder blocks tied around your fingers. There's a good Kurt Vonnegut novel about this called Harrison Bergeron, where everybody is given these inhibitors. If you have any natural talents or natural abilities, they tie cinder blocks around you so you can't get around very easily, because they try to keep everybody passive and sedated. They don't act up. And this is, what we're experiencing in terms of spirituality, in terms of our DNA. Our DNA is the cinder blocks, and it is the lack of freedom in movement, like the dance of our DNA not being able to move as much as we want to, that has kept us in these limited levels of mentality. So yeah, I don't advocate for thinking about, clank clank metal spaceships or space Jesus or a man with a beard or any kind of external saviorship like that. However, I do wholeheartedly advocate for people to imagine the best transformative, unexpected thing happening. Like Cheeky it might have been really hard for her to imagine, and I didn't find her in a shelter. Like I said, like she went into a foster care, and then I had to talk to the adoption agency, and it was a whole process and everything like that. It took a long time, but it eventually happened. So we as humans, we as a planet, we as, a species, we can envision that something much better happens. What would be the analogy, of like, Cheeky had potential, so they took her out of the shelter and they brought her to a foster home. What would be the idea? Like, humanity has potential. We're not horrible, bloodthirsty maniacs. We're actually beautiful artists and musicians and dancers and lovers and healers. were actually really beautiful. And when Cheeky was in the shelter, she didn't exhibit her normal personality characteristics. This is why I joke about the version of her that's like Mad Max, like fighting for survival and everything like that. She had to defend herself against other dogs and everything like that. And I did a lot of work when she came to me at getting her to feel happy and safe and secure and peaceful, so she didn't have to be trying to defend herself from other dogs. So a lot of human characteristics that I see in this time and place of competition and mistrust and insecurity and even violence, a lot of that comes from the world that we've been exposed to. And what would people be like if they went to a nice, safe foster home where there was plenty of food and they didn't have to fight for their dog bed or anything like that? What would it be like if instead of you had to fight for your life in some kind of a capitalistic society where, you know, it's hard to find healthcare and it's hard to find food and you have to go to the grocery store and you have to have your 401k? What if you lived in a different world where you actually had everything that you needed and everybody had everything that they needed? And so in the community where I presently live, I'm finding that people are incredibly generous because people have what they need. And so they're like, they have plenty, like you need whatever. Well, Christine lent me some drinking glasses, but there's many different garage sales and things that are given away for free because people have what they need. I find that is a true personality characteristic of humanity, not greed, not selfishness, but being like, hey, I've already got 12 drinking glasses. I don't need all of these 12 ones sitting around here. I'll give them away to someone who needs it. And I've done giving too, you know, if I had things that were extra. That is what I find to be the real human personality characteristic, not any of these things that are like the Mad Max peripheral versions of self that we've had to be. So humanity, it has one, that's beautiful work, Christine, too, beautiful crochet that you're doing. Humanity has a great deal of potential. And we need to be given an opportunity to cultivate and express that potential in terms of compassion, in terms of love, in terms of the way that we interact with other people. And a lot of it has to do with security. Get rid of insecurity, get rid of financial insecurity, food insecurity, resource insecurity. Once everybody has what they need, then people act very, very differently. And so, yeah, to me, this is not like clink, clink, metal spaceship, take me away. It is more a question of let's restructure reality so that we all have what we need, so that we can express our true personality characteristics as opposed to these Mad Max fight for survival things that we've had to do just in order to stay alive. So I would love to take Cheeky for a little walk right now, and I'm kind of at the end of my presentation. I want to make sure if there are any questions or comments that I get to them. So if anybody's got, thank you very much, Ben. Ben is agreeing with me by saying well said. Yeah, because a lot of people also think that Earth is unworthy and Earthlings are unworthy of galactic citizenship. And everyone here is so bad and so wrong. And no. Like Cheeky was very worthy of being rescued from the shelter and being given a wonderful home. And each one of us is very worthy of being given not only a place to live and food to eat, but meaningful existence. You know, we have a mission to perform, and a lot of that has to do with how we interact with one another and, you know, this interconnectedness of lives. So yeah, we're all worthy of being given these opportunities to fully cultivate and express and explore our true personality characteristics as opposed to these distorted survival-based personality characteristics that we've been encouraged to cultivate and express for so long by, you know, malevolent extraterrestrials. So what we are doing is changing levels of reality, and the spaceship is your body. It's your consciousness. It doesn't require something that you build and weld out of metal. It requires something that you build out of consciousness. Christine is saying, you made so many recent events make so much sense. Good. Thank you. Those glasses and stuff are yours to keep. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. She gave me some essentials for the kitchen that I really needed because I was moving into a place that was pretty bare. So that is really wonderful. And that, I think, is true humanity. It is not selfishness. It is the desire to give to others. Yes. And everybody gets to be happy and appreciated. Thank you very much, Christine. So yeah, I think that's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you, SJ. She's sending me tons of rainbow emojicons. Thank you very much. So this, wrapping up for today, and I'm going to do a couple of more weeks in this semester, maybe 2 more presentations, 2 more weekly presentations, and then wrap things up, but then restart the teaching cycle from the beginning, and that will be sometime in June. So we're just kind of like coming to the culmination. That is wonderful. Ben is saying these concepts have been so transformative. I'm still learning, but so appreciative of all you share. Thank you. That is really wonderful. And I think this learning process just continues onward. It doesn't actually end. I think just like being a musician, one is always growing, one is always learning, one is always innovating, and then you just keep on getting better and better. And I think that that's what we do as humans. We keep on cultivating and refining our true personality characteristics, and the journey keeps on going, and we never have to stop. To me, that is eternal life. And we keep on playing, and we keep on playing this music. Ben says, tendril of attention is making more sense to me as time goes on. Good. And Beth is saying, rainbows for my move soon too, please. Sending you rainbows. This is something, it doesn't cost any money. You can send good wishes to people. It literally doesn't cost any money, and it really does help. Cheeky is awesome. I'm so happy. She gave me almost 2 hours. She took a dog nap for almost 2 hours. And now she's like super ready to get some exercise. So guys, let me sign off for right now. Thank you for being with me and understanding that I'm just getting over the move and I'm just getting back up to speed. Thank you for the love. We send out the love back to you. Yes, Cheeky needs a good walk. You are all very wonderful participants, and I'm very happy to be connected to you. So thank you. And I look forward to doing next week. Yes, we're going to get class organized for next week. All right. We definitely need some playtime and everything. Let me end the recording.
See you soon.
Oh, thank you.